This is a video for the PowerMatePro for the application operation. We're going to start by downloading a test flight version and installing it on our iPhone 6. So when the unit first starts, you get a request to use location services. We're using the GPS in the system to determine and make sure that we're not moving in our vehicle. This is primarily for motorhomes and campers to control power slides remotely, and we don't want to be able to run those slides or those power options while the vehicle is in motion. So we use the GPS to prevent that from happening. So in this case, we're going to allow it. So the very first thing, once you first install the app, is you have to enter in a security code, which is simply a numeric code. I'm going to just use 1234 for simplicity's sake. The very first thing that we do once we do that is we now have to pair devices together. We don't use a traditional pairing mode in this system. We're using Bluetooth Low Energy for this particular application, and we use a proprietary method to learn the modules as we add a module to the system. So the very first thing that we do is, on this module, we use a key sequence to put it into a learning mode on the module. And then the application, when there's no modules learned, it starts out as learning an initial module. So we press start, the system looks for it, finds a module, and then checks to see if the module's been configured. And in this case it hasn't, so it requires us to configure it. So the first thing that we need to do is assign a name to it. So in this case we're just going to put call this test 1, and then we save that information, which actually is saved over the Bluetooth back to the module. Now the system allows you to control a power slide remotely over the phone by using the open and close buttons in real time. We can go into a menu option and configure the current device. So if we want to rename that device, we can do that. We can also enable some other functionality of the system. So we have some one-touch operations that we can do. So we're going to set this to 13, for example. And we're going to set this operation to 10, for example. These are a timer settings. And we'll save that back to the module. We can also add a second module or multiple modules. The system will support up to 7 modules in a particular vehicle. So if we want to add a new module, we can go to Add New Device. We put our second device into this Learn state and press the Start button. It'll find it and learn it. Again, in this case, this particular unit was already programmed with a previous text, so we're going to just change this to another number, 5, for example, and we'll save it. And so now we have 2 modules combined onto the system, onto the phone. And so we can control each module independently, and we do that by touching on the selector. And we can choose, in this case, test module 1 or test 5. So when we do that, then it can switch back and forth. And we can run either module's slide functionality remotely. So in this case, it's only connecting by 1 module at a time. We can also go and switch to a connect all mode, and what that does is that will allow us to reconnect to the system So now we're connecting all modules at one time. Again, once we're connected, the functionality is the same, except for now when we're in the connect all mode, there's no switching back and forth between modules. We're changing our options real time. Some other functions that we have is we can also delete a module. So if we have a module that we want to take out of the system, we can do that. And we can also change the password to a different number or a different value. And that is basically the operation of the system. From this point, anytime you exit the program, the modules themselves are always broadcasting, so that whenever you connect, the system always tries to reconnect to those same modules. The password is strictly for security, to help prevent someone from getting into the application and operating your slides without your authorization. And that concludes the video.